gentlemen, and welcome to Friday Night Debate on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jai, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. The sound you just heard is from the cultural ambassadors. That's the sound that introduces Friday Night Debate. Tonight we have a full menu. We're going to be talking about politics, and politics. The presidential listings or the provisional list of vice and presidential and vice presidential candidates that's out. Also, we're going to talk about that. We have 20 presidential candidates and their vice running mate or aspirants. Also, collaborating and really going against the incumbent, I think is a tough one, right? Because the president or the incumbent they're black people that will vote for them no matter what, and they have the incumbent, the power of incumbency. Now, on the opposition side, it's been tough. So opposition trying to collaborate, form alliances and all that. Things are, tough. People get together to break. One of those is the ALP, Mr. Benina Ure. In fact, I heard them call him Dr. Benina Wilfred Ure. He made a statement stating that the ALP did not leave the Unity Party. The Unity Party left them. Well, it's really tough. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Honorable Yeke Koluba accusing the Unity Party, Jeremiah Cohn, and Mr. Joseph Nima Boakai of putting Kennedy against him. And so he said, if Jeremiah Cohn doesn't want me to be representative, he too will not be vice president. Also, in tonight's debate, Mr. Cummings, when he formed his team Cummings, they told us he was building a big tent. One of those under the tent was the NPP or former NPFL commander, Mr. Chia. Well, now Chia has left the tent. Where is he going? To the CDC. But let's take a listen to Mr. Benina Ure making his statement at the time they were certificating the ALP legislative candidates. After that, we're going to be introducing our panelists for tonight. Take a listen.
I've admitted to the whole party, the executive committee, and I apologize on a few things, especially what transpired with ALP and Unity Party. We thought that all Liberians were good Liberians. We thought all Liberians were good Liberians. In the interest of the country, we did certain things. We thought at that time it was the best for the country. And when you fight for your country, and your country deport you or expel you, what can you do? I want the world to know that we did not leave Unity Party. Unity Party left us. They put us out. When you work with a group for 6 years, and at the closing moment they tell you we don't want no collaboration with you, that's the biggest betrayal ever. Then they influence us to start the Democratic Alliance. At the conclusion of the day, they said they didn't need the Democratic Alliance again because there was no confusion in the party. They wanted us to form the Democratic Alliance, so in the instance where things didn't go well for them, in their party they had a fallback position. The Democratic Alliance. They convinced me and Professor Larry Tupac, we were the two founding leaders of the Democratic Alliance. Until today, they have hijacked the the documents for the Democratic Alliance along with the money.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. With me tonight to discuss all this, I have the independent Welle Wilson Momba. Welle, welcome to Friday Night Debate.
Thank you, Dennis. As always, it's a good thing being here and sharing knowledge with those good people on the platform with me.
Thank you. Let me also welcome Mr. Jerome Gibbon, the unapologetic, unabashed, and unrepentant sedition. Welcome, Mr. Gibbon. You're muted, Mr. Gibbon.
Thank you very much for inviting me on your show with some beautiful folks as I prepare for inauguration of 2024.
Let me also welcome a supporter of presidential aspirant Joseph Numa Boakai, Mr. Aliyu Kamara. Aliyu, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Last and definitely not the least is, not the last, let me welcome Mr. Anthony Gay. He's a member of the CPP. Before he got Ben Finn out of the he was running as senator in Grand Jude, but he dropped out of the race. Mr. Gay, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Ja. I'm excited to be here this evening, and this is a very good discussion we're about to have, and I want the Liberian people to have an opportunity to watch this podcast even after the show, to share this podcast, because it's going to be very interesting tonight.
Thank you. Last and definitely not the least is our friend from
Mr. Sharif
Institute, Mr. Mohammed Sharif. He is FOL political analyst. Mr. Sharif, welcome to the show.
Dennis, it's great to be here.
We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. Please do all the favor, share the show, and invite someone, and let's debate the issue. I always like to quote Dr. Famula. He said, it's better for us to talk than to fight, because our mouth is not gone. So tonight, we're going to be talking, and it's Friday Night Debate. Let's start by talking about the presidential aspirants, presidential candidates. There are a lot. So I was going through the list, and let me share with our viewers here just a snapshot. We have these aspirants, 2023 candidate nomination presidential aspirant preliminary list.
Wow.
Starting with Edward W. Appleton and his running mate. He's a local here, Alexander Ellis Gonti, as the vice president. Their party is the Grassroots Development Movement, GDM. All right. That's the top of the list, and the list continues. All together, we have 20 of them. 20. I thought this year, as we move towards May and June, I thought it was going to be a very, small field, but it's still growing. Mr. Sharif, what is driving this long list? Some of them, you tell that they have no chance, right? Or I shouldn't say that, So let me give them the chance. But everybody is running. And as I learned, they are paying money, good bit of money to even register, to run. I mean, what is driving this?
Well, keep in mind that I have said that at some point I'm going to throw my hat into the proverbial ring right now. Everybody and their brother is running for president of the Republic of Liberia. One of the things is that, people see government as a place where you can live. If you go home tonight and tomorrow morning you learn a job with a government agency, your family can live a comfortable life. And that's the Liberian tragedy, because everybody is trying to work for government. So everybody, including the incompetents, are trying to run for president. The bar for the presidency is very, very low. So say all you want. When we had Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, it was a lot different in terms of, that top tier, who was in the executive mansion, or should I say who was in the foreign ministry building for several years. That spot was respectable. So you had a respectable president, you had a respectable vice president, and then we had George Weah, where the bar went low again. After several years of a respectable presidency. But that is not your question. Your question is, why is everybody running? And I answered the first part of that question. Everybody is running because government, public service in Liberia is where you go to make a living. You don't go to make a living in the private sector. There are private sectors in Liberia, but who cares about the private sector when the private sector is almost depleted? It's depleted of resources, the depleted, when you talk about human capacity, the private sector lacks those. The private sector lacks the luxury and the wealth that's so built into the public sector. And so unlike the United States, where you go into the public sector for a reason. The reason you go into the private sector, most time in the United States, you want to make a difference. You're going in, you care about something deeply, and you're trying to make a difference. You're trying to make a difference in your community. You're trying to make a difference in your local community. You're trying to make a difference in your city or state. And for this reason, you go into the private sector, the public sector, I'm sorry. You run for elected position, you win, and you start to put in place, in conjunction with those who you are going to work with, you start to put in place policies that will affect a vast majority of the people. Conversely, for Liberia, you go into the public sector to steal, basically. So you get in there and seek you first that position, and all these things, all these wealth shall come unto you. That said, there are some good and decent people who are running, who have served in Liberian public sector. They're not all that bad. They're not all bad. There's some good people, especially there have been, and in this election, I can say there are some good people. There's some well-meaning people. Dennis, your classmate, and my good friend Amar Kone is a very decent candidate over there in Bapulu County. I hope he gets elected. There are decent candidates. I believe Wade Powell is running somewhere. I hope she gets elected if she's still in the race. There's someone from District Number 2 in Monserrato, is Sharif, who's very well known in that area. A young man who's very meaningful. So there are people, there are individuals around who are trying to get in now to make the difference that I'm talking about. So I'm hoping that one of these days, some of the well-meaning people get elected. There's a reason why I supported what's his name? I supported Duguayan. If he was running, I would support Duguayan if he was running. Maybe we're going to differ on that. People like that who I've heard from privately, who said that, this is X, Y, and Z that they are going to do. They're not going in to steal money. And I can also remember several years ago when Professor Topa was running for from Bapulu County. I did support him for the senatorial position in that county, because to me, I just named Dr. Yan and Professor Topa. These people are, to me, they're very serious-minded people. But you can't say that today in the midst of parties like the CDC that have hijacked our revolutionary ideals.
Thank you. Alice, let me go to you. To be fair, I mean, this is all democracy is about. People have the right to vote and to be voted for. So in this, the preliminary list, we have 20. And I think we have 2 or 3 independent candidates. The rest are all political parties, some of which we've never heard of before. It's good or bad for our democracy? I think it's a good thing. Will you agree?
Well, we all know it's a good thing to have democracy flourishing in Liberia. That's what we've been looking for over the years. Since 1847, there have been problems of having multi-party democracy, and our forefathers fought for multi-party democracy. But at this point, I think it's a little bit over the top. 20 candidates, even the United States of America, that believe in democracy, we never had 20 candidates running to be presidents of Liberia. So it's like, when Christmas is coming, you go down waterside, you see all the what they call we are. It's too many tune-up clothes on the ground. I mean, it's becoming valueless, to say the least. I mean, why 20 people? Is there anything that is so special about being the president of Liberia? If you are supposed to serve the people, I think the idea of the presidency is being lost in the process for most people. And I know some people are running genuinely because they want to make a difference. They want to help, change the country around. But a lot of people want to be in a race. So at the end of the day, they will have a table and a seat at that table where the elephant meat will be cut. Then they get a share. That's the major reason that some people are in the race. What I do understand in recent time is like the more people get, popular because they were running, if the person who happens to win is ready to share the ministries and the government agencies, those people are going to be on the top list. So that's the main reason. That's why they leave from party to party, from one organization to another, because at the end of the day, they want to have a share. And I think it's really wrong because it's like personal interest that is above the interest of the country that everyone's supposed to be fighting for. So in my view, it's a little bit over the top. It doesn't make it interesting anymore. I respect people, for their decisions, but when you have 20 people running, then it's like a fun box, to say the least. I'm sorry.
Thank you. And Mr. Gay, you two tour with the idea of running, so you're very familiar what drives these kind of decisions. Okay. And some of these people, some of the parties, sometimes you have not heard their names before, even though it's not impossible. But in our recent history, we don't see, those kind of David versus Goliath scenarios. It's like we always know the top three even before election begin.
Absolutely. I think Mr. Sherry touched on the first part that I wanted to touch on. That is, it's a money driven thing. The salary is huge. They're going to become rich overnight and all of the different things. Another thing about this thing also that is following this, I think perhaps the election commission is making a ton of money out of this because why should you register this X amount of people, to vie for the presidency? And I think the presidency requirement is so low. To Mr. Sherry's point, it's very low. The requirement is so low, so anybody can just wake up today, tomorrow, and say, "I want to be president of Liberia." Even me, I can register tomorrow and say, "I want to be president of Liberia." Right? That is the circumstances. Right? For me, I was going into this race, seeking the senatorial post, not because I wanted to make money, but because I saw my county struggling politically. Politically, Grand Juliet County has struggled. We're not even seen on the map nationally. Have you ever heard any lawmaker from Grand Juliet who have made the case for our county, who have taken on the stand, at the Senate floor or at the lower house and making the case and say, listen, because of X, Y, and Z. Look at the road going to the southeastern region. Then it's you and I from that side, and you understand that road is horrible, 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 right? And for some personal reason, I withdrew my candidacy, but God knows, in the future, time never gone by. I'm still young, age is still in my favor, right? But let's get to this point. The presidency, the qualification, not the qualification, but the requirement, the financial requirement to become a president in Liberia is just too low, right? At least they can say, hey, you must have minimum of $250,000 in your bank account. You should have this, some sort of collateral, right? But individual registry, they don't even have the first $50,000 in their bank account. But they want to be president of the Republic of Liberia, for God's sake. Another thing, Sarah Lou right next to her had 2 major political parties. The rest of the other people are all independent candidates. Take another step forward. Ivory Coast, where I grew up, there's not more than 10 political parties in Ivory Coast. They only have the top 5. By the time election day comes, that only 5 political parties can be in the race. Maximum 6 in Ivory Coast. Huge country, over 25 million people. You have a country that shy of 6 million, and this amount of candidates, this is insane. Between the representative and presidential candidates, I think up to 1,000 registered candidates across the nation. That is just insane. Look, so we need to take this leadership thing seriously. We need to elevate that becoming a senator, becoming a representative, it's not a joke. What is your policy-driven issue? What is driving you? What do you want to put on the floor? That people will debate and that will become a national legislation that will pass the House and the Senate and become law of the land, and that will have a direct impact towards the people's lives. It's not about representative come to talk, oh, honorable, buy a couple of rights or a few bags of right here and there, and that's it. One of the reasons why I even anticipated getting the race is that I can name all the lawmakers from Grand Junction County. Not one I put forth a single legislation on the floor. Not a single one. That is insane. What are you doing? Collecting paychecks? And this is the kind of thing that drives young people like us, wanting to do something in our country. I have a very fine career. I can live life in any country around the world. I don't need to be in politics to survive. But when you see your nation drowning, when you see the people going the way they're going, no hope. July 20th is going to come. What are they going to speak of? What do you look at? I grew up in Africa and look at Ofuwe Bonye as the father of the nation. Who is the father of the nation of Liberia? Who do we reference? These are kind of things sometimes when I sit down, I wonder, I'm like, our land is rich. We possess up to 46% of the rainforest in West Africa. If it comes to carbon emission, Liberia is supposed to be benefiting out of carbon emission. Are we benefiting? Agriculture in the south region again. Liberia forest can be compared to that of the Amazon, even though the Amazon have over a million plus hectare of land. But again, Liberia is a very fertile country. When you fly over the Liberia, you see how green the forest is. But look at our nation today. Liberia is by far worse off than 1985, than 1988, than 1989 before the war. Liberia is worse off. And we can have that debate. Because I remember as a young kid in Yekepa, I have 24/7 access to electricity, good running clean water, telephone booth in the streets. Do we have one telephone booth right now in Monrovia? Not that.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Gaiman. Mr. Gaiman, is it because President Weah is being viewed as weak or not or performing poorly? Is that why everybody think they can beat him?
No, actually, I think I was a little surprised that our political analyst is actually way off the mark here. When as a Republican, I think the last time we checked or we did our war room, in the United States, 2020, we have 1,212 candidates vying for the presidential race in these United States. That's 2020. 1,212 candidates. The threshold here is, in fact, lower than it is in Liberia. All you need to run is to have proof that you are capable of raising over at least $5,000 towards your campaign. That's it, $5,000. 1,212 candidates.
In primaries, bro.
Were they representing political parties?
In primaries.
Listen.
Primaries.
Listen. I'm telling you, who registered, duly registered to run for president of the United States.
Political parties?
We're not, listen, it doesn't matter. We are
No,
talking.
it matters.
No. Parties,
Political parties here.
listen, parties don't run for office. There are people that are running.
People represent the parties.
Listen,
Hold on, Alex.
wait,
Mr. Gabriel, I don't know that. I don't know that information you just provided. Is there a source?
Yes. Go. You can go to the United States Congress page. If I let me pull it up here for you. And for the question here is why everybody running. He didn't say why political parties are running against CDC. When you talk about political parties, then you're not talking about George Weah. You are talking about CDC and the rest. The question is why is everybody thinking that it can be president? And the answer is it is fair in the democracy. Anybody who is born in Liberia and meet those qualifications is allowed to run for president of the Republic of Liberia. In fact, Liberia has one of the most expensive thresholds. I think they say you got to have $10,000 in your account. You have to have an operational office in all 15 counties and all of that. And some people are even suggesting on here that we should have a property clause. One of the clauses that brought a war in this country, in our Liberia, when the True We Party said the regular person could not run for office because they did not have something called properties in the country. And they went and defined what properties were. That made the Gimens of the world, the Camaras of the world, the Gays, the Sheriffs of the world ineligible to run under the True We Party system. All of those things have been dismantled. Now we have a democracy where a Jerome Gimen, who has a little $10,000 in his account, can show that he has following, can put his name in history as running for president of the Republic of Liberia. Whether he wins is a different thing, but history will bear me out from now on that I ran for president of the Republic of Liberia. When they are talking about Joseph Jenkins Roberts, when they are talking about those greats, Ellen Johnson, Salida, Joe Weahs of the world, or those who ran for president of Liberia, Jerome Gimen's name is going to be listed in history. So these are the things that we fought for, that we have, and we have within our hands. Anybody who meet that threshold can run for public office. You shouldn't be a Tubman, a Talbot, or whatever that name is, to say the presidency is reserved for those people, and not for if you come from Kawi Kent somewhere, or Bijo Town, and you have your little $5,000 and you want to run, you run. Let the record show that on this day, this year, Jerome Gimen or some guy named Dennis Jar ran for president. They won't say who he lost to. They say he ran for president. So this is more about history. This is more about self-identification. This is more about our history and our self-worth than it is about winning the presidency.
Thank you. And Jerome, just Google. It said there were 1,212 candidates who filed to run, including 323 Democratic candidates, 164 Republican candidates, 65 Libertarian candidates, 23 Green candidates. So you're right.
Let's distinguish this though.
Yeah, hold on. They filed to run.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, but filing to run is different. What we're talking about right now, that list that NEC has in Liberia, those are people who will be on the ballot.
Of course.
On the national election day.
Listen, man, come on, man.
Hold on, Mr. Gibbon.
The list you just gave out, those are people who vow for the primary for their political party. At the end of the day, they will not every one of them will make it through. They will have fewer candidates that will go for the general elections. That is not the case for Liberia.
Thank you. You know, when they fact check out, those are the kind of thing they call half truth, right? So the politician will take the whole thing and just dump it on us.
Right.
Mr. Kamara, I disagree with Anthony Gay, who said that we use money to limit how many people that will be on the ballot or how many people will vie for the presidency, because we'll be giving our country to the highest bidder. If you say I don't know what your view is.
I mean, not just money, but I just based that money that. Oh, but yeah, so many other variables. But yeah,
right.
you can disagree
What
because
else
I didn't get
do
those
you think?
variables.
Is this good for Liberia or bad for our democracy? If you think is bad, what can we do to limit so that we can have serious candidates running?
Well, thank you for having me again, Dennis. I want to say bravo. Bravo to H. Boyman Fambule. Bravo to Bacchus G. Matthews. Bravo to Dr. Tipote and Legs. These are things they fought for with their blood and sweat. Belayala was a freeway for them because of this. Today, I don't mind seeing 4,000 Liberians walking to the National Elections Commission and expressing their intention to run for presidency for their mother and their fatherland, and they are given the right to do so without any reservation. We have come a long way, Dennis. Dennis, imagine 130 or more years of an ethnic group that is less than 2,000 people, determining the fate of a 43,000 square miles of people, divergence of cultures and societies. We're talking about nations, just under 2,000 people, determining what their last name can be, determining defining what civilization should mean for them. All of those things, we are putting brakes on them now. The question about money, when you make those kinds of statements that if you tell somebody $1 million or $500,000, that's very discriminatory in nature. First of all, what is the income per capita for Liberians before you tell somebody to have $1 million? How much do you pay somebody in Liberia? How much? The average civil servant in Liberia prior to now were not making more than $20 a month until Ellen Johnson Sirleaf came and put them above the $150 mark. Someone making $150 would not be eligible to run for president, even though they are equally Liberians compared to Mr. Alexander Cummings, who can afford the $1.5 million or the $500,000. How dare you say that? So I'm hoping that the next coming election in 2029 to see 45 people on the ballot. Yanabor, Wibarabor. In fact, they should reduce the amount of money they're charging these people. Liberia is for all, not for the privileged few. I did better than Sherry. I can call my own shot. Go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah, but Sherry ran so close.
Dennis, unmute yourself. You can't mute yourself. You're the moderator.
So, Alice, what do you think can be done if you think this is bad? I mean, Aliyu said this is good. He even wants more.
Well, I'm not going to say what we can do, but, I'm concerned about it because having too many people will make our people to be confused. The voting population.
That's what democracy is, right?
Yeah, but the people that are participating in the democracy, you have to consider them. All right. So if you have too many choices, people get confused and they will not be able to narrow it down like other people would have done, maybe through fast checking or through other researches to know who this person is or what they are capable of doing. So you go to Dodroke and have 20 people, show that to your people. And what they're going to tell you, it's going to be difficult to choose somebody because they don't know these people in the first place. And they might end up choosing the wrong person for the wrong reasons.
Thank you. Mr. Anthony, let me come back to you. Because
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because we can't have it both ways, right? We want our democracy to flourish. At the same time, we say, "Oh man, there are too many people." There are some people who are suggesting that maybe this person is behind it. Maybe the incumbent is sending this person, or this is democracy, and this is what it should be about. So why are we complaining?
Mr. Ja, here's the thing. I think what can we do different? It's simple. When the Liberian public are well educated about what voting means and how to vote, and what my vote when I cast does to me, good or bad, and how when politicians make a decision, it will affect me or not me alone, but my generation to come, then that thing will start making sense to them. They'll start voting wisely. Look, I tell you this, right? Like Mr. Gave you that article or where he got that information from. You found out in the beginning, people are excited, people jump in the race, but when they start weeding out people, even the candidate themselves can let you know what? I don't think I stand any chance yet. Boop, they get up. When they see they cannot raise money to maintain that campaign, they get up. When they see that, they understand that, this other guy is doing by far better than I can do, they get out. Obama raised $770 some million in this country. And when other people look at it and say, I don't think I'll maintain this, they think it's just too much for me. And they start getting out of the race little by little, little by little. What we should encourage in Liberia is the primary thing. If you want to get on a party ticket, you have a primary. What we have in Liberia, it's not primary. People are already handpicked. They go there and say, we're having political party. The competition is not there because of the way things are structured.
Right.
So 2020 now will be a little tip of the iceberg where a lot of great candidates will be in the race. A lot of great candidates. You see a little bit of it. You see Wale Powell is running for representative. Very well competent woman. You see Amara Cornet is running for the Senate, right? You see what's the guy? You used to have a talk show. I just forgetting your name. From Cape Mount. All right. I can't recall his name right now.
But window?
Ketamba?
No, not Tamba.
Window?
Not window.
Go ahead. And Mr. Sherry, let me just put
right. So
and they need to have debates too
but
among the candidates.
Let me say this. The 55th legislature will be by far better than the 54th legislature because a lot of competent individuals, if they are fortunate enough to win their seats, the legislature will be different because we're seeing a lot of well competent individuals in this race. Vendetta Patrick, right? He's also in the race. So these are individuals that will go over there and they will elevate the discussion in the House and the Senate, right? They will elevate the conversation. American is a doer. It's somebody who like policy. He like getting things done, right? So I mean, I have not seen a straight on the legislative side. I don't know how he will function there, but again, he's somebody who is this kind of person. Is a very pragmatic person, like to get things done. So you have a lady that Wale Powell, again, she's policy driven. She likes to get things done. These people will not sit there, and have a party. They will go to work on day one. And that's how we make 2021, 29 election very competitive. And I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you. Mr. Sherry, just a minor correction here. Amara Connor was not my classmate.
Okay.
He was in the 10th grade when I was in the 12th grade. So he looked up to me as a senior.
Okay, all right.
Oh, wow.
My bad there. So,
so Mr. Sharif, the thought I had is this not just a regular primary, but some threshold, right? So to become a party to contest, maybe you should have certain number of people in your party. You should have primary not just in Monrovia, but at least 3 parts of the country, right? Maybe the Monrovia area, the central region, southeast, and maybe somewhere in the northwest, right? Have primaries in those areas and win something. You see, even our major political parties like ANC or CPP, Unity Party, no primary. Those people were coronated. And so, I mean, look at those who jump quickly in the race in the late hour. because we heard the name Sarah Besso Yanti, and that many of the political parties were thinking about her as vice running mate.
Yep.
They had talks. I learned that she was not interested, and by the time we looked, she was running. Some of these parties are so new. When I saw, even my friend, or I shouldn't say that, I don't mean to demean them, but my friend Cecilia Coffey Brown is now a vice presidential candidate on a
What?
ticket of somebody I don't even people that you don't know. So I don't know whether they're trying to say, well, let's divide the opposition vote, or let's get there, and then as someone said, our name will be in a hat for something, or somebody is telling them you be the spoiler. What is going on, and how can we kind of straighten this up or clean this up?
So Dennis, there are problems. So the two colleagues, Jerome and Aliyu, they have not sufficient. They didn't address the fact that public service in Liberia has been so incentivized, and that is the real issue. Why is public service this corrupt and is now driven by hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars? So you go into the public service to get wealthy. So why is that? That is the problem that we need to talk about, not that you want to make history. So Mohammed Sharif wants to be in the Liberian history. So the only way I can be in Liberian history, that is that I must run for president. What if, what if I can make history by going down to the village and teaching in that school and volunteering for the school and set up teach for Liberia, and bring together a group of Liberians who will be teaching in villages, remote villages and towns and communities in the far reaches of River G and Sino County and Maryland County and those kind of places that are far to reach. So Anthony said that he was going to get into the race because the Southeast, particularly where Grand Jita County, where we're from, is dislocated from other areas in terms of development, in terms of look at the roads, bad roads and stuff like that. So I wish he had stayed in the race because, it's really hard to hear what he just, some of the things he said. I don't hear these from current candidates. I don't hear people say, oh, I'm going to get into this race because I'm thinking about, making the road conditions better. Even if they talk about it, they all lie about it. And if he's sincere, as he is saying, as Anthony is saying, if he's sincere about this, I would encourage him next time to jump into the race, because you don't have anyone right now that's maybe not very many that are thinking this way. And I just mentioned that in the United States, people run for offices. People get into the public sector because they want to make a difference. They would like to make a difference for their community, for their country. So when it comes to Liberia, we're quick to, draw this comparison to the United States. Jerome said, over 1,000 people ran, for president of the United States. Even if that's the case, this is a totally different situation with Liberia. You see what's going on. You see that our speaker is better paid than the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives. You see that our representatives, our lawmakers, are better paid than the legislators in the United States. These guys are very, very wealthy in a very poor country, very selfish individuals. Anthony, you mentioned something about Yikipa. When you were in Yikipa, enjoying those facilities, we in other areas didn't have those facilities. Keep in mind. So where I grew up, we waited for the moonlight to come on before we run around. Because I stayed with my uncle. I was a child when my uncle took me. My father was in the city, was in Zoedru, obviously where there were lights and everything going on there. But in Kalipo, there were no electricity. We waited for the moonlight. We studied by candlelight. So in Yekipa, while your condition was different because the company there, the Liberian American Swedish a mining company was able to build those facilities, it wasn't the same. And what as leaders, Liberians should have done now is to learn, is to take that example of a Yikipa and replicate that throughout the country. And that is called leadership. And somewhere there, sometime in our past, maybe in our recent past, Tolbert tried to replicate some of the things that he may have seen when he visited the United States or other countries, building these housing estates, building roads, building the multilateral high schools in places like Zwedru, in places like Vonjama, and perhaps in places like Habo. So those examples are those kinds of things. And as a result of this of the multilateral being built in Zwedru became a student town. It became a real urban center where you have, a convergence of young people from the entire area, from Sino County, Maryland County, even Nemba County, even as far as Lofa County. So you had this sort of convergence in Zwedru, and this is what development can do. So you identify.
No, let me come in for a few minutes. Sherry, let me come in small. Say something for a few later on. You just compacted thing to the point where you're getting me confused. When you say that we should focus on who's getting paid more in government, what does that have to do with people registering to become president?
But what I'm saying to you is, I don't have to run for president to make history.
No. Hold on 1 minute.
That you can make history. Okay, let me just finish my thought and then you can come in. Because what you guys are conflicting is, Aliu Kamara must run for president so that tomorrow history will remember him. That's what you said, unless you want to retract that. But I'm not in the business. I'm not in the business of, going out there to say I must run for president before I can make history. Dennis, you said it. I mean, these guys, we already know the top three, the top four. We already know the top five. You think Aliu sitting here is going to vote for Cecilia Coffee Brown? You think Aliu sitting here is going to vote for, number 20 on that list?
That's the point I was trying to finish.
His candidate is a top tier. He's positioning himself, for something. So his candidate is in the top tier. He's not running. He's not voting for someone who's number 19 or number 20 on this list. So this idea that people must run to be able to make history, it's just, that comes off to me as the wrong way.
Let me count in small now. I beg you. Let me count in small.
What we should be looking at, I'm just letting a few minutes. What we should,
Mr. Sherry, go ahead, finish your thought in 15 seconds.
What we should really be looking at is the robbery in the public sector, the thieves that have congregated now in the halls of the legislature, in the executive mansion. That's what we should be looking at. And that is a legitimate question to address. The incentivization of the public sector in Liberia is wrong. It's wrong in any country. Definitely is wrong for Liberia.
Thank you. Aliu.
Yes, Dennis, everything he's talking about, incentivizing and this and that, those are policy issues. Those are policy issues. What does that have to do with 20 people? There are 20 people in the race running to be president. If the Speaker of the House is making more money, well, there's something called referendum. Well, there's something called political will right there in that parliament where they can change that. Those are policy issues. Those are not issues. Let me tell you something. He said the way he feels, he can carry out whatever he wants to do. He can go to Grand Jury and this and that. But that's you. That's how you want to contribute, Mohammed. The other people want to contribute differently. If everybody want to become teacher and go to Maryland, there will not be enough students for them. So people have different aspirations. I just wanted to touch on what Gay was saying about people going and having this thing in their political parties. You have to understand. I was listening to Paul Kagame the other day. Why he was sitting on an interview with a British journalist. He said, "You people always think that your democracy must be the democracy that all of us must conform to. You cannot define democracy for us. If a political institution is established, they have their own bylaws. as long as it does not contravene any article of the Constitution, you can't do nothing. But that's their democracy. It's peaceful. They agree upon it. They have signatory to it. That's fine. It's not my time to speak. So then you can go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, please, Jerome, conclude on this so we can move to our next issue.
Yeah, let me correct our political analyst here. First of all, running for president is guaranteed under our First Amendment rights. The figure is it's freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Nobody can.
It's not First Amendment rights in Liberia. Go back to the Constitution.
Whatever that is, Liberia does have the freedom of speech written in our Constitution.
It's written in the Constitution.
Okay,
yes.
so
but it's not First Amendment. I'm not saying
okay,
it's not written in the Constitution. It's not First Amendment. So let's get our facts straight.
It is there. And secondly, this notion that you say people in the United States go into government because they want to do something is the biggest fallacy that they ever fathom and ever propose on this show. Trump ran for the presidency. People say he was a billionaire for 50 years, second generation real estate developer. And in 50 years, they say he was worth $1 billion. In 2020 alone, he raised over $1 billion. I went to the Republican Party headquarters last Friday. Trump had raised $35 million in the last 60 days. $35 million. And you're going to tell me that these folks are not going into this for the money? You make $1 billion in 50 years, and you make $1 billion. And you still collecting every time this guy shows up from somewhere. He's raising minimum $1 million a day. That he basically honor his whether he can say honor his secret pack or this pack or that pack. This is money available to him to do whatever he wants to do. So anybody who tells you that in America we go into government because we want to do something, we don't need the money, it's a fallacy. It's a fallacy.
Dennis, if I'll come in, since this is a debate, because Jerome,
please be brief.
This will be very brief. I hope. Jerome does not understand. He does not understand. The political. He talks about all these different politics. He's a Republican, whatnot. He doesn't understand. Now he takes Trump, who is an outlier in my analysis, in my estimation, to say Trump makes $1 billion. I really want to see the source of that report also, but I don't care. All I'm saying is there have been a lot of public servants in the United States who get into the public service because they feel strongly about something they want to do. It is expressed in their desire and in their platforms and whatnot. We conversely Liberians get into the public sector to steal. Where's my example? Exhibit A, George Oponweah. George Oponweah got into the presidency, and the moment he was elected, he was like a kid in the candy store. Went to the candy store and wanted to take all the candies and eat all the candies. What was he doing? With all these real estate projects and different projects flying around the country.
Mr. Sherry, you never heard about a guy by the name of Santos out of New York.
This man left the country for 48 to 49 or 50 days, however long that was, to watch the World Cup. So are you serious? This is why he got into the public service to steal the Liberian people's money. And there are different replicas of George Weah in this list. So along this list of 20, Dennis, that you have, 20 plus perhaps, there are replicas of George Weah. There may even be individuals in here.
Sherry, there's a guy named Santos in New York that is a thief, that is a liar, that made it to the U.S. Congress.
There may be individuals in there who are creations, who are moles for the ruling CDC party. So this is what you have going on in Liberia. A lot of these people. Someone getting there.
Okay, Sherry. He said thank you now.
Thank you, Mr. Sherry. Thank you. I wanted to move to our next point. And this is very, I was thinking about it today and say, well, maybe it's very difficult to run against the incumbent because what is it? And I want us to think about it together, right? That's why I'm bringing it. What is it that the opposition, as we call them, want to do? Because President George Weah has his base. And because of the power of the incumbency, you know that people are going for him no matter what. Our government consultant here tells me about the three groups: those who, the saints, the sinners, and then those in the middle, right? There are people who will go for George Weah no matter what, and any other party no matter what. Our people in the middle are very few. So now those who are voting for George Weah are going to go for George Weah. So it appears to me the rest of the people opposition who don't like George Weah, they have to choose among the other maybe 15 or more candidates. So opposition people started to come together under CPP. That didn't work out well. Now they try to form their own little alliances, and that too has a challenge. Yesterday, as we played a clip earlier, we saw Mr. Benina Ure really taking the fight to the Unity Party. Say they left us. In fact, he's telling his people, if you want to go to Unity Party, you can go, but I'm not. He's even saying he rather go to support President Weah than going to the Unity Party in essence. He said, and said all that. So that's represent a crack in the Unity Party. Last week, or the last time, we saw another confidant of the Unity Party, Mr. Henry Costa, coming up with his revelations and other things that he said. Mr. Ure tried to corroborate some of the things he said with, even though I don't know why Costa was not at this time because the ALP member and Ure was not at Costa's press conference. That too is another story. Another crack that I see is Yeke Koluba, who supports Mr. Bwakai, came up with his story, said they are putting candidate against him. And if that happened, he too is going to make sure that Mr. Kaun, whose name is wrongly pronounced as Kun, Mr. Jeremiah Kaun, is going to lose because he's going to go against him as well. In fact, the person they call his son, I have the record, I have the clip here to play. Also, we saw in Lofa County, Cottimer was told to wait. Say, wait small, let's get this. We have this thing with Liberty Party, so let's have Steve Zago to run instead. This is becoming hard. And the one we'll come to later on is Mr. Cummings, who had Daniel Chia on his Big Ten, has Mr. Anthony Gay called. Now he left. So it's really, I don't know the strategy of the opposition, how to put this together, because it seems that things are cracking. Let me start with Mr. Aliu, the Ure factor, Ure, Costa on one hand, who have pulled votes, probably votes away from the Unity Party, try to put them together. What really is happening in the Unity Party does this represent cracks in the alliances that our Unity Party is trying to build?
No, what is it? What this represents is storm. It's a storming era, storming period. Now, now let me disclose this. Benina Ure's issue is he wants a documentation, a documented signed agreement, quote unquote, collaboration. The Unity Party had or has been bitten by a snake, and they weren't trying to take any chances with a worm. So what we're saying is
they're not going to sign anything anymore.
There you go.
Okay.
And Benina Ure did not take that very lightly. He wants a document binding them. In fact, sharing everything based on law, legal document. And Pabwaka is saying, look, listen, you're supposed to be my confidant. If you trusted me for the last 6 years, you should trust me now. I did not sign any agreement with Jeremiah Cohen's party. And Larry Tupper, the DAL that you claiming blah, 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 Larry Tupper is with me. I did not have to sign any document with him. The former speaker, Ellis Tyler, is with me. I did not have to sign any documents with him. I cannot sign a document with you. And Benina Ure being a big gun, big money, so he believes that once he says it, and the fact that he's been loyal to GMB, therefore GMB must concur in appreciation for the effort and time that he's giving away. And GMB, being principled, wouldn't do it. But to that question of yours, that they're taking votes away. You have to understand. Benin may be the owner of the ALP, but Benin does not have sway over a vast member of his political party. If you pay attention right now to what is going on, you realize that most of the hierarchy of Benin party has made their intention known that they're going with Joseph Boakai, including our former Senator Sandra Johnson. All right? So that is a whole different ballgame. So when it comes to the number issue, he really hasn't taken a lot away. The only thing he has done is, divert the attention momentarily. Henry Costa is a great guy, and we would still love Henry Costa to be on the Boakai's team. However, in terms of constituents, listen, it's one thing to have COP, a social or some kind of auxiliary group, causing disturbances, and it's another thing for that social group to be transformed into a voting population. We saw
pressure group, not social group.
A pressure group. I mean, we saw that in the EAWA area where he ran. There's over 100,000 people in that area. He won less than 6,000. He won less than 6,000 votes over there, even though he was chairman of the COP at the time. So we're not worried about the numbers because the decision to vote in Liberia is decided by the voters, and the voters' votes are directed towards individuals. The people who have voted for the Unity Party have voted for Joseph Boakai, point blank. Whether you move away or come in, when you come in, you bring something, but it's highly unlikely that when you're moving away, that you'll be taking something away because people are voting for the candidate. Now, this issue you brought about this District 10 lawmaker, you see, his argument, I've told you before, I say he's a nuisance. His argument to me just don't make any sense. My son is 17-year-old, Dennis. We just had an argument today. I had to put a stop to his new cell phone I bought in punishment for him violating what I told him. I told the Negro to not get out of here last night. He decided he was getting out, and he went and slept out. That's my son, though. Yeah, I didn't adopt him or anything. What more of a grown man who has his own money, who has invested against his aspiration, decide he has to be a representative for that district, and nobody's going to make him to turn that down. And then somebody say, well, since he's attached to Jeremiah Count and he's still running, that means Jeremiah Count is responsible, and therefore I'll make sure that Jeremiah Count does not become a vice president. Is he afraid? Because this is clear cut, because he said if Jeremiah Count does not want him to be representative of District 10, then he too doesn't want Jeremiah Count to be vice president. That means he's scared of the young man. That's what's going on. But it's just unnecessary noise. I think it's taken away from the main issues here. The country is being deprivated. We need to focus on that at this point.
Thank you. Let me just understand. You said Mr. Boakai just want a handshake agreement. He doesn't want to sign anything. Like we are living in 1847, they were signing documents.
But listen to this. Listen to this. Now again, everybody, we all have our descriptions of things, right? JB is saying, in simple terms,
my word, the Bible.
We all go together in this as a team. Now, first of all, okay, Young Liganga, what do you want? I want 20, 21 different seats. Where? Grand Bassa County, Grand Bassa is my stronghold. Okay, you only give me 1 or 2 places in Grand Bassa. Take the rest. Prince Johnson, and the group, what do you want? Neighbor County is a stronghold with 1 neighbor county for all the representative seats. Okay, you give me 2. Joseph Boakai have done all of that. In fact, give Liberty Party a slot in Lofa County. So he's working with them, but he's working a different way. Remember, all of these little clauses you see that you sign in these 200, 300, 400-page documents can always come back to haunt you. We are at the dying minute. We are at the 90th minute of the game. Do you really think we have time to be going through legal issues and going to Supreme Court and fighting clauses and all of that? So this is not a time for it. In fact, Joseph Boakai has been contemplating merger, but that's a whole different topic, and that will happen after the election.
Anthony, you seem to not be in agreement because I mean you support Mr. Cummings, so Mr. Cummings signed a document before you laughing at Mr. Bogart not signing document.
Look, Mr. Dennis, Mr. Ja, let me say this, right? The dismissiveness in Mr. Kamara's voice on a particular subject matter, it is insane. One, he said, oh, the COP is a noise maker and create disturbance in Liberia. COP. Another thing he talk about, what's the name? Henry Costa ran when you were chairman of the COP. False. When Henry Costa ran as a representative, COP was not formed yet. Let us be honest here. You just misinformed the audience. Henry Costa was
when was COP founded?
COP was just recently founded on Henry Costa Root FM show.
What? But you didn't tell me when was COP founded.
Hold on, Leo. That's true. The time he ran there was no COP.
There was no COP, sir. Sometimes you can hit that person to the point that you dismiss everything about the person. You don't pay attention to key information. That's what you just did. Here is a key sticking point and the message through of a JMB and the Liberal and the Unity Party. They are entitled. This is the reason why they left the CPP to begin with. You heard there was black voting circulating around.
Get over it, man. That didn't pass a long time ago.
Hold on. There is a pattern here about JMB. And people need to know about JMB patterns, right? This very man, the woman he worked for, the woman who made him nationally known, vice presidential pick. Nobody runs for the vice presidential seats. You must be appointed. It is not an application that you go and apply to become a vice president. It is a privilege. It's not a right. He was picked to be a VP. And your boss did not endorse you. That says a lot about you. Second thing, he threw that same boss on the bus and said, we squander. When you say we squander opportunity, who are you talking to? He said, my boss blunder. That's what you're telling them. Because, again, you're quite the the vice president job is to assist. You're going to hide under that umbrella and say, he's only there to assist. But on the same token, you can say, but he disagreed a lot with her. So you cannot have your cake and eat it. Right? So here's the thing with JMB. You saw Yombi Kanga Lauren how she was treated. You saw Katuma, who almost won.
How was Yombi treated? Mr. What do you mean? How was Yombi treated? Explain that.
Good. Yombi Kanga Lauren abandoned her political party just to be a JMB. Today, she can no longer use the Liberty Party name and raise any money for Liberty Party. The Supreme Court has already ruled she cannot use that name anymore. Where is she today?
And so as a reward, she should be vice president. Is that what you're saying?
No. That is not a reward. Okay. But it was presumed that she was going to be.
Right, that's presumption.
Right? It was presumed that she was going to be.
You know, JMB doesn't sign any paper, so you didn't sign anything.
Hold on now, Mr. Jack. Let me land. A senator who already has her own name, she doesn't need a big campaign mother to be seen. You see the title of the girl? Oh, the rescue mother. Being a senator is more privileged or more prestigious, that's the word I'm looking for, than being a rescue mother.
But you think you know what is good for Yombly than herself?
Tell me about it.
Let me say this to you, Mr. Jack.
Mm-hmm.
In politics, your political capital and ethics matches in political decision making. Yombly Kanga Lauren political capital had diminished if she should even decide to run for the presidency in 2029. I'm predicting this right now because your value is only important of the political gain that you have. This move, but she not be if she was going to be a vice presidential, even shortlisted, right? And picked, lost the election, her value was increased, even though she did not win, but she has that vice presidential prestige on her. Whether or not she wins or not, that's politics, that's optics. These are political capitals. You don't overlook it. right? Now, with my party, the ANC/CPP today has been moving very strongly because people have seen the true color of those detractors that were in the CPP pretending because they feel so entitled. I challenge you today on the show. Since 2017, the Unity Party has yet to win an election on her own without any collaboration. I challenge you today. Look at the record. The one and singular election that they had in Lofa County, backed again by GMB. That candidate lost. Katuma. He's trying to get in the race again. They sideline him. He's getting back into the race as an independent candidate. You understand that? This just tells you of the entitlement of Joseph Yuma Boaka. This man feels so entitled.
Thank you. Alice, what do you make of what's going on in the Unity Party? Is it, as trivial as Mr. Kamara is presenting it? Is that people can only bring vote, but when they go in, the vote is lacking, they don't take anything away?
Well, what's happening is last night I listened to a show where Honorable Yaka Koluba came on, and he made the same assertions, and VP Kennedy Cowan was also called in, and he refuted everything that Honorable Koluba was saying, Yaka Koluba. So in essence, he was saying that his son is an adult, who start taking instruction from him. He does what he wants to do. And so he's not behind whatever he's doing. But he also gave his support to Yeke Koluba. He said he was supporting, he would even run campaign for Yeke Koluba. And he was asked whether he thinks Yeke Koluba is doing a good job. And he said, yes, if you're not doing a good job, the Unity Party was not going to be supporting him. So, but the only catch is the son that he raised, that he made today to be a man, the son that he made today to be prominent, that son does not listen to him. So where's the influence? That our little bit better, I mean, I know you can have children, but children should be able, especially in Liberia. This is not a United States. I know somebody was talking about our brother talking about his son in the United States who's not taking instructions. We know the society, children do things that they want to do here. But people that were born and grew in Liberia to, somebody they look up to as a political godfather, to not take instruction from them, especially something that is very important to them, I find a little bit troubling,
Alice, Liberia is different now. I think you see the Kush and all other things, all kinds of things happening
so,
now.
if he's taking Kush, then how is he running?
No, I'm not. That's not what I'm saying. But let's listen to the gentleman.
Dennis, can I address that shortly?
Hold on, let's listen to the gentleman.
See, and the list goes on and on. Let the honorable tell us exactly which political party he belonged to. Honorable. Because the first thing is Joe Burger is on the ballot and Kumi is on the ballot, and there are two from opposition political parties. So why is this argument?
So that means you are being supported by the Unity Party?
I am contesting independent, but my election is about district number 10. And I have support of the entire people in district number 10. Who's a major contender? I don't think I have major contender because I know the guy who is there just a noise maker. All he does is to insult on the radio, insult everywhere. And so I don't think I have a major contender.
I think that's a star party ticket.
That the least person in the whole election there.
What is your
I have 95% of the sedition in district number 10 supports me.
So does that mean that there's unity in the opposition? Because the fact that Yeke Koluba comes from the opposition.
It's not about this unity in opposition.
Your father runs on the Unity Party ticket.
I am contesting independent. Yeke Koluba is contesting independent.
Your father is supporting you.
I don't know. Maybe you don't listen. You didn't listen to him well on the spoon. He has said that he stand by the decision of the Unity Party.
That's the young man.
Yeah, Dennis, how clear? Dennis, how more can that be clear, made clear? Okay, we're not talking about a child, though. We're talking about a grown man. This boy has over 2 different stores, his own store from ground up. Has his own businesses.
So his son.
Hold on, guys.
Mr. Jack and
Yeah. I want to go. No, let Alice complete and then we'll
Okay, so we listen to the man. He say he got sedition support. All right. His father, the man who made him, his father is supported by opposition, but yet the son is supported by CDC. And another person who his father supports is the person he's going against.
Alex, are you saying that in my household everybody should be for one party? Are we not free to?
No. This is not what I'm saying. I'm talking about where relationship is involved.
Right, that's politics.
All right. Anybody can become member of any party, but when you have something very special that is coming up, his father is trying to be the VP.
He also has his own political career.
Yes, make his own life.
To his father.
It's kind of hard, you know.
And another thing, he admits in that same interview that Jefferson Koji is his personal friend. The other UP CDC man, I think Sir Joseph Ofala, one of those, he said that's my big brother. So he's forming his own political. But in all, what does this mean for the Unity Party? We saw the Yeka issue, we saw the Henry Costa, we saw the Benina Ure, the one with Cottiman. This tells me that really forming these alliances, especially Mr. Bwaka, who doesn't, according to Ali, who doesn't write down stuff or make commitment, legal commitment on paper. So what challenges does that present? What to the Unity Party and Mr. Bwaka?
You talking to me?
No, Alice. I want Alice to complete that. We want to talk about.
Well, Dennis, you know, Honorable Bwakai might not want to put things on paper based on maybe past experience. I cannot speak for him. Why? Because sometimes, you know, the whole political system is like cloud. They change any minute, and you don't want to be entangled in a kind of agreement that is not going to help you. So from the beginning, we saw the DAL. It was, you know, some kind of marriage going on. But at some point, when you don't find it interesting and you don't think it's going to benefit you, you're going to be looking elsewhere. Yeah. You talk about the person from the big tent. Why did he leave from the small tent and go to the big tent? And now he's back in a small tent. So it's interest.
No,
so,
right.
So I mean, I think that's what is going on.
But what does this say about Waka now? Does he not? Because the other people have their own interest.
Why you gotta say
so? Only his interest come first.
Well, I think he's looking at the interest of the party as a whole. I don't think he's looking at individual interest. So the different groups coming in, they want to have alliance with him. I think because maybe he got a biggest platform, and so he has his own say.
All right. Let me go to Mr. Gibman. Mr. Gibman. Mr. Gibman, be quiet today.
No, I'm just trying to wait for my turn.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Gibman. What does this say? The what we've discussed so far about, does this represent a crack in the Unity Party? What does it say about Mr. Bwaka?
Well, you know, I've been saying this from the beginning of time, and you guys, the folks won't listen. This Humpty Dumpty have fallen and broken to pieces, and there's no way they can put it back together. But it says two things about Joseph Boakai. He is unreliable. He's a bad leader. First of all, 2 years ago, Front Page Africa interviewed Edwin Snow. And they said, Edwin Snow, why did you abandon Joseph Boakai and the Unity Party? He said we had a major argument within our party, and I decided to leave. Joseph Boakai wrote me and said, one monkey can't spoil the show. He dismissed Snow. Today, we are hearing the same attitude from Mr. Kamara here saying, Costa, the man who actually spearheaded the largest political rally protest in the history of Liberia, besides Marcus Matthews, he said this man is worth absolutely nothing. He said he's worth. Can you imagine the Costas of the world? This man said Costa is worth nothing.
I didn't say that.
That's what he said. He said, no.
Excuse me, Yuri, that have been the backbone of Joseph Boakai when Joseph Boakai was absolutely nothing, when he was abandoned. Mr. Kamara is saying Yuri is nothing. So we are looking at things. He is saying too that in Lofa County, in Joseph Boakai's own hometown, Kotima, that is the original United Party partisan. They are now dropping him for Steve Zago, and Steve Zago cannot run on a Liberty Party ticket in that place because he does not legally belong to the Liberty Party, because that Liberty Party belongs to the CPP with Musa ability. So he cannot run. So he either run as an independent or join the United Party to run. So you see how this man is shedding as you go. On the leadership part, why George Weah is a better leader? Let me give you one typical example. Excuse me. I say he lacks leadership. I'm going to tell you why. Mary Kawa was running or is running for re-election in District Number 2 in Grand Bassa County. Janja Bape, one of our own, from also District Number 2, has spent a lot of money, a lot of time to take on Mary Kawa because he thought Mary Kawa was retiring. Mary Kawa decided that she wanted to keep the seat. So they went to President Weah. President Weah intervened in that fight between Janja Bape and Mary Kawa. What did he say? He said, Mr. Bape, we know you have spent a lot of money, but disengage here and we will support you to run for the Senate. We will do this in a way that both parties both of you stand a chance of winning. And that is what we call leadership. Bring people to the table, put something together that is amicable, that is a win-win. He didn't just get up and say, Janja Babe, forget it, you can go. You can't bring anything to the team here. Mirakawa, you can bring the team, but you can't take it out. I mean, that is bad leadership. This is why Joseph Boakai is now a loner.
I would need to clarify that.
Excuse me.
Hold on.
This is why Joseph Boakai is now a loner. All his pillows, we're talking about Cummings, we're talking about Ure, we're talking about Costa, we talk about Snow. Everybody that made Joseph Boakai who he was, now Kotima will most likely leave him in Lofa County. Then where does he go? Joseph Boakai is done.
Thank you. Let
me clarify some things. This man threw a lot of stuff out there, completely misrepresenting my thought and everything that I said here. I did not say Benin was nothing. What I said was, or what I implied was, the absence of Benin will be better than the constant commotion in the party's interest, the Liberian people's interests are paramount. One. Number two, Henry Costa, again, I said he's of a vital importance. We would love to have him, but we cannot continuously be distracted in these manners. We have to move on. Galakpai Kotime is quiet. He understands the deal. Galakpai Kotime is not originally from the United Party. He was with the CDC. He ran in Lofa County, could not even acquire 5,000 votes in Lofa County. For the first time he ran in Lofa County under the wings of Joseph Yuma Boakai, he only lost by 700 votes, and that was a tribal issue. It wasn't because Alice Comey didn't go there to support him. That's not what it was about. It was a tribal issue. You already had a Loma senator, and a Lofia insisted that they wouldn't have two Loma senators and they needed someone from another tribe. That's what went on. But let me just say again, this man said the truth. I just checked it out. Yes, I made a mistake. It was a slip of tongue. And of course, I was not ahead of the COP. But let me just confirm to you that the COP, members of the COP, majority of them have given their support to Joseph Yuma Barbara.
Thank you. Mr. Sharif.
Yes. So, Dennis, the thing I see here, I think on this one, Jerome is really on point. No point intended. He's on point. Because for the following reasons. Mr. Boaka, who a lot of us he's beloved by a lot of us because of his temperament and some of the things that he did under Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. So but he's proven not to be a coalition builder. So if you're not going to build these coalitions and your people are out here diminishing, individuals who have been with you, that's not a winning prescription. To point out Henry Costa's, failure in that election, that's not indicative just because he lost that election. It's not indicative of, the level of support he's going to get going forward. So there's no need for that. There's no need to diminish people who have been with you in thick and thin. So now you talk about, Yeke Koloba. Yeke Koloba, the opposition, much as he's, sort of like, disorganized and don't seem to have, a real ideology, but they need him. Who is the attack dog out there who's on George Weah every day and night? That's Yeke Koloba. The rest of them in the legislature have been bought, and I think it's the reason why they're putting this kid up against him, because all of the establishment professional politicians are afraid of Yeke Koloba. When Spoon Network was shut down, who was out there in the street? Who was out there talking about freedom of the press? Not any of these legislators. I know that the Unity Party put out position, but I mean his colleagues didn't do anything. He was out there, so he has been out there on critical issues, of the day, to say the least. So you cannot diminish these people. You mentioned Dennis some time ago. The Liberia that we know now is different from the Liberia that we knew 20 years ago. So whether we like it or not, Yeke Koloba has his supporters. Does BMB can he afford to continue this drip, losing these supporters? So if Yeke Koloba is not happy, there's a way in which you do that. You step forward. I know Jeremiah Cow, as you pronounce his name, and I'm going to stick with your pronunciation, as he has said something about it. He was mature in what he did and what he said. That was very mature. So now I want to hear something from Joseph Boakai. I want to hear something.
Boakai has nothing to do with this.
Excuse me. I want to hear from him because he's proven to me not to be a coalition builder. So now you've lost, a lot of the people that, most of the top people that were with you, and yet you're saying, that doesn't make a difference. So you move on. The opposition had, to me, have a better chance when they were together. And so the togetherness, and going against George Weah, you saw the Appreciation Day program that George Weah, that people, I don't know what they were thinking they had this for George Weah. So somehow to underestimate this guy who goes out there, doesn't speak in complete sentences in Horton language, I say, my people,
condemning that man is not an appropriate thing to do. First of all, that's not his language.
My people,
he's not an English man. He's from Nimba country.
My people,
he does not have to speak good English.
That's unbecoming of you. That is unbecoming of you. Don't come and sit here. It's very unbecoming of you. It's very unbecoming of you. My people, my need George Weah. So thank you, my people. So this guy who speaks this way, he's not articulate. He does not say anything to Liberian people. And the opposition is underestimating him, but he still has that hardcore support base that they haven't been able to tear away. So, what is the strategy going forward? Is the strategy going forward? Is it, are you going to now tear your own alliances apart? So, if that is the case, if they stay this way, a few months from now, they will be in real trouble.
Thank you. Something looks to me that there's a pattern here. I only put few pictures of Joseph Boakai and Ure up, but one old man told me, say, if you left your first relationship and you blame it on the woman who agree, then by the time you leave the second, the third, and the fourth, people will think the problem is with you. So we look at the Boakai Cummins alliance. It didn't work out. They blame each other. It came to Boakai and Yombly that almost didn't work out. Thank God he put it back together. Boakai and Costa, Boakai and Ure, and Boakai and other people. Now it came to so if people look at that Boakai is forming this relationship, these alliances, and they are always breaking, and he's still coming out as the one who is not at fault. Don't you see your pattern here, Mr. Kamara?
You are muted.
I like the way you organize it. This is just to show that you're a bright guy. That's all I see in there. But I don't see anything else other than that. The political arena in Liberia, people move around in circles. Do you understand what I'm saying? People left the unity, the CDC. Bunch of people left the CDC. James Barney and others left the CDC. They came to Boakai. Okay? Listen, we had a situation where everybody could not get what they wanted. And some people felt entitled, given the closeness to Joseph Boakai. Henry Costa, through his father, Benayure, believed that because he acted like a sage or a pressman to Joseph Boakai overseas, and therefore he was competent and qualified to be vice president. Joseph Boakai did not see it that way, and therefore Henry Costa decides to walk away. Should Joseph Boakai be held responsible for that? Benayure wants a collaboration of equal power when he only have 27,000, 25,000 voters. And Joseph Boakai doesn't see it that way. And say, look, we can still work together like we're working with Yombly, like we're working with Elari Topa, like we're working with all of these other people. We can still work that way. And Benayure insists, no, his way must be final. Should we then say that was Joseph Boakai's fault? Now we're talking about Galakpayi Kotimain. Galakpayi Kotimain has been under Joseph Boakai win for a long time. In fact, he has gained more relevance in Lufaka. You remember when he was superintendent, he was one of the most unpopular superintendents. Through the appeal of Joseph Boakai to the people of Lufaka, the Galakpayi Kotimain has become a household name once again. Galakpayi Kotimain has accepted. He said he has ambition of becoming senator of Lufaka. The Pops agreed. The Pops said, okay, if you insist, you have my blessing, but we have to go with my daughter because she has made enormous amount of sacrifice. And when everybody refused to even go to my introduction ceremony, she put everything aside afterwards and came to me and said, Dad, you're my pa, regardless of what happened, you stay my pa. So Joseph Boakai said, no, this girl or this woman, I have to give her what she wants. What's the issue here? People leave political parties up and down. It's still happening right now as we speak in all political parties. Remember, during early Joseph Sali time, we have mergers. The Van Sherman party, among other political parties, they came and merged. But with the agreement, again, with the agreement that Ellen was going to be the Senate bearer, there was no question about that. Joseph Boakai is the front runner in every poll conducted in Monrovia. If you conduct a poll tonight, Joseph Boakai is the front runner. I guarantee you, if Ellis Comey were in that position, that poll would not be condemned. Joseph Boakai has been the front runner in every poll for the last 8 months in Liberia. No. I'm not talking about non-voters. I'm talking about among the voters. Joseph Boakai is the front runner in Liberia, and we will win this election.
Thank you.
Can I jump in 10 seconds on this
hold on, I'm coming to you. Because
okay,
you can argue what he's saying, that alliances are formed and broken during elections. People make choices. There are a lot of moving pieces and people move around. Example is Mr. Daniel Chia, the NPFL battlefront commander, the guy who people were afraid of during the war, right? When Mr. Cummings took him in the alliance, Anthony and everybody
that was not an alliance.
No, alliance means when you and two persons, you agree to do something, that's an alliance. That's the context I'm speaking in.
Okay, in that context. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, because if people don't sign the paper. So when that happened, this was jolly in the ANC camp. Mr. Cummings is building a big tent, and this tent was celebrated. Now, Daniel Chia has left that tent, and this should tell you what Mr. Kamara is saying, that people change all the time. What's wrong?
Let me just say this. Sometimes people are very quick to compare apples and oranges because they are all fruits, right? But they are also unique in its category, right? So apple is a fruit, orange is a fruit, but orange is very unique. Those of you who work in the medical field, or any medical practitioner here will tell you, if someone has an acid reflux disease, the doctor will not ask them to drink orange juice, because even though it's a fruit, the doctor will rather give them apple juice that will not irritate the acid reflux. What am I saying here? Mr. Daniel Chia left the ANC, no noise. He made his own choice to leave. He didn't go bashing Mr. Cummings or saying anything out there. He left for his own personal reason. We respect that. Unlike these people who were silent, get the everything to Unity Party. And the Unity Party silenced them because you heard Mr. Kamara just now.
I heard Taiwan too.
But Taiwan circumstances again, Taiwan circumstances, we did a VPS.
Oh, okay.
Let me give you this.
And
we did a VPS. Hold on now. We did the VPS 2 times in Nimakanda, and Taiwan were flunk. And based on the report, we said Taiwan, you're not the best candidate than either Gongo West. And the election proved our decision making. Ile Gongo West received 38,000 votes. Taiwan received 5,000 votes. So who had the best decision making? Mr. Cummings had the best decision making in that circumstances because Taiwan was right? So yeah, let's just say this.
Jeremiah
was very successful because we saw in 2020 the CPP, the very first collaboration in Liberia that have 6 Senate seats withheld, or we won 4 and we withheld 2 seats. That was Dillon. Without the CPP, would not been re-elected.
We don't know that for a fact.
That Darrell Dillon himself confessed that publicly.
Right. Never.
There's no way we can prove it.
And share with you, Mr. Ja. So here's the thing, Madam Senator Lawrence, also the same thing. Without a CPP, she would not have won her seat, and the CPP put the government on edge because they were very successful. Now the Unity Party people felt as though it was because of them. They didn't see the collaboration as a team. They saw that, oh, we won this because of the Unity Party.
When do these ANC people leave the collaboration team? We finish with the team.
We are seeing the defect in the Unity Party because since they left, they continue to have trouble upon trouble upon trouble. Since they left the CPP, do you see any commotion in the CPP? Absolutely not. Because Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings is a true leader, and he saw his dominion. Even when they came up with that false narrative, talking to court, he walked out of court, exonerated, and today we know who was the mastermind of that whole court ordeal. The same Unity Party folks. That's the kind of people we're talking about. So I want to disagree a little bit with Mr. Sherry here. The opposition political party, the CPP in particular, has a propensity right now to win this election because there is no commotion in the CPP. We do not have no noise making, backstabbing, and all of the different things. The Liberian people now have seen the true color out of Alexander Benedict Cummings and his vice presidential pick, Councillor Bronsky. We see, even when she came to the US, There was no back and forth among the CPP. People supported the heart, supported the ticket, and today the Liberian people are seeing the true color, the true alternative of Liberia. Look, we're just talking about government job. Mr. Coming Goal is to put broadband service across the length of breadth of Liberia. If you have access to the internet, you have access to the world, you have access to opportunity. So that everybody in Vera County will have strong internet access. You don't need government job. You don't need to beg government to work. You can work from your home. With us, I work in that field and I know how important it is. It will create a lot of jobs. That's the kind of Liberia we want. A Liberia that will give every child the opportunity to strive. You don't have to be a certain age or a certain category of a certain tribe group in order to have access to internet in Liberia. That's the kind of the country we want to bring to this to Liberia. That's the kind of opportunity that every Liberian will have a better Liberia. That every Liberian will have the choice to live that Liberian dream that will never get in. We never have such thing like the middle class. Everybody will not be rich, but everybody will have that opportunity to strive. Because once you have access to the internet, you have access to the world. And that's the Liberia Mr. Coming on the bill.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, this is Friday Night Debate. We are discussing current political issues. If you want to join the conversation, please call the number on the screen, 605-313-6004, 791-403#. We already have callers waiting, so just 1 minute each of you. Sometime there was this famous video that came out where the guy said, is this politics? It's politics? This politics? I mean, this politics of a lot people going from one area to the other, and then when you leave one side, you bash the other, and people are just, people are ducking their toes. Yes, I'm not going this way. This person is going to win. Everything is so unscientific. People are quoting polls that maybe don't exist or so unscientific. And we'll talk about Mr. Boakai and Mr. Alexander Cummings. If you really put them side by side, we more or less see the same thing, right? I was giving Mr. Gay an example of Jeremiah Solonte, Ta Wongbe. Is that Simeon, the one from Cape Mount? That
Many.
Right. So these things continue to when they form the Big Ten, as they call it, people call them out. And they said that was, the way to go, a perfect way to go. Now the same people that when people are with you, they are all good. When they leave, they are all bad. Is this politics?
Mr. Ja.
Yes, sir.
A real quick correction here. I want you to look at the differences between individuals moving around and organizations. Okay? When you're talking about organizations like the ALP, the CPP, the Liberty Party, these are not individuals. You talk about the other people you are naming, they are individuals, they can lead, but when you form a partnership with organization, it becomes legal to have a merger. And then
who formed the partnership? What a legal document.
There you
Where's
go.
the legal document?
That is not an excuse to break alliances.
Listen.
So wait, Aliu.
This is why Aliu and Omen Boakai. Yeah, for people who say they are principled, and yet they say, don't quote me. Don't see. I can't write it on a piece of paper. How can you run a country where you're going to be dealing with multilateral contracts, individuals, corporations? Then you say, I can't write down things. I don't like to write down things. I don't like to sign things. I don't, just in case it doesn't work. I mean, this is ridiculous. Even people who support the Unity Party, who are well-learned people to listen.
What are you talking about again, Mr.
So how do people sit here and say, we can't write down things, we can't sign legal document, we cannot hold you down because we don't want you holding us to any legal entitlement? It's scary. It is scary. And this is a sign of a disintegrated group of people who actually will allow an organization such as the ALP with its resources, the CPP that brought almost the CDC to its needs, to have it disintegrate, the Liberty Party that was the backbone of the legal force of this country, to leave you, and you say people just move around. This is disturbing. I mean, I
Yes.
just can't fathom this.
Movability is not a
It
Labor
is
Day party, man.
disturbing, Dennis. I
Yes.
mean, I'm not going to say disturbing, but it is
Mr. Camara,
concerning.
get interrupting the deal.
Listen,
Yeah,
You,
he's
you
really
just
heckling.
interrupted too.
It's called heckling.
I'm
So,
sorry.
you know, it is. I'm not going to say disturbing. It is concerning. I like the montage, Dennis, when you put out that montage where you know he's shaking hands with Henry Costa, shaking hands with Ben. He's sitting with Ben and Ayura, and they're smiling somewhere, and he's shaking hand with Alexander Cummings. Now, fast forward a few months later, this has disappeared. All of this has dissipated, and one of the traits of a leader, of a good leader, is bringing people together. That is one of your responsibilities. You're going to be running a country. You're going to be running a country of people of diverse opinions, people of diverse religious backgrounds. You know, different orientations. You know, different ideological backgrounds. You're going to be running that country of 5 million people, and you are now supposed to be considered the father of the nation. You're supposed to be bringing these people together. Are you going to now say, you put your people out there to say, anytime a Mohammed Sharif leaves your tent, and you say, oh, don't mind him. He doesn't even have a county. He doesn't have a constituency. If Dennis Jad leaves, oh no, Dennis Jad, and you put your people out there and they're spewing these lies. And they say Dennis Jad is from Sino County. What constituent does he have? And then, you know, and so on and so forth. And so that is the thing that is concerning to me. Again, you know, keep in mind, a lot of us love him, but you know, you have to be able to build this coalition. And nowadays, Dennis, is so toxic that you can't even speak the truth. You can't even start to critique, you know, and pinpoint certain things. And there are guys like Aliyu and other people, they're out there just chopping people down. And
That's because you're talking imaginary
it's,
things. You're not being realistic.
it's really
You're
inexcusable
imagining
what they're
things.
doing, because what they're doing is they don't understand. They don't understand what is awaiting them in October.
Thank you. Let me bring on my first caller here tonight. We want to allow time for people to call. If you still want to join the conversation, the number is right there, 605-313-6004. If you are overseas, call my number. Sometimes when people call my number the next day, even midnight, I'm still getting calls and say the show is still on. Let me take our first caller here, and you can guess who that is.
Elvis Morris.
Mr. Morris, go ahead. You are live.
Thank you, Mr. Jar, and hello to the panelists tonight. You know, the last issue you guys are discussing is relevant. You know, you're talking about Joseph Boyka and the disunity within the Unity Party. You know, is the action of the Unity Party is analogous to its very nomenclature. You can't call yourself the Unity Party.
You can't unite people.
You know, there's no unity between the people who collaborate with your party or who sympathize with your party. They're leading left and right. The reality is, when you look at Joseph Boyka and the Unity Party, they have alienated one part of the country. They've left that part of the country and not even made any significant effort to even incorporate that part of the country in their campaigning or their messaging. You know, they're not trying to rule these people politically. So you're looking at a man who is almost, you can say, like a separatist. He aligns himself with certain people or certain group of people from a certain part of the country. And he thinks he can win political power that way and rule that way. People talk about how terrestrial government is only for Southeasterners. To a certain extent, it's reflected in certain key areas. But there are a lot of other people from other part of the country that is represented within Georgia government. They may not be at the top, ministries, but there are a lot of people in the political structure of the CDC and even down the line in other positions in his government from other part of the country. So Joseph Boyka, even Ben Ayue said it. He's a tribalist. This is not something that's new. Tribalist against even the quote-unquote native people. Not just, choking the Congo country line, but he goes against, people from certain area of the, certain region of the country. If they're not from, even in his own country, he shows preferential treatment to people from his own, ethnic group.
Elvis, let me check you right there. When has Mr. Barker demonstrated that? Give example.
Look at his team, right? His immediate team that he carries around is successful of nepotism. His son, his nephew, his in-laws. It's all about his family members. And then
when you go on a family visit, you take your family members.
Hold on now. Ben said it this weekend, or wherever he was talking. He said that those guys who was a part of Ben ALP party, because they were from Lower County and Joseph Boyka Kingsman, he told them that they should leave with him and join him in the band of Ben and they did so.
And you believe that?
The facts are there. Mr. Jai, if you think that we haven't seen the evidence that Joseph Boyka is a divisive person and to use a tribal division to try to corral support for himself, we've seen it. This is not me accusing him of anything. We've all seen it. We've all said it before. The late Bromsky said it about JMB, that he was a tribalist. We've seen it. So for me, it's nothing new. Joseph Boyka will make a lot of political enemies. Liberia is a very small country. At the end of the day, these things will come back to bite him in the behind. So politically speaking, so it's nothing new. When on the issue of the primaries and people who are registered to be presidents and things like that, I kind of want to take a balanced approach on that part because I agree with Mr. Kamara who said that this is what we dream of as a nation where anybody can contest for the presidency, and it shouldn't be something that is unattainable for most Liberians. And I agree with that. But also, when you look at it, cost, if you just look at it on the economic front, having consistent 2 rounds election, runoff election, it's a lot of money that's being wasted because most of these parties or these political parties or candidates will chip away in certain areas, and you'll never ever get to that 50+1 in the first round, and thereby you got to go to a runoff election before you get a president to emerge. So it's costly for the country overall. But I think the freedom that we enjoy in Liberia, is greater than most of our counterparts in the region because we fought for it, and I think most of us still remember that we didn't have that freedom like we do now. So a lot of people try to utilize it just to say that I'm capable of doing it. So Ben Fine.
You said some people try to abuse it or utilize it. I didn't get that.
Say that again?
You said some people try to abuse that freedom or utilize it. I didn't get that clearly.
No. I said some people try to utilize it.
Oh, okay. I was trying to put word in your mouth, but thank you so much.
The freedom that they have. So I don't want to take up too much of the time. Maybe there's other people on the line.
Yeah, other people on the line. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Let me bring on Mr. Paul. Derek Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. Thank you for taking my call. So, as regard to the first topic, I think, our country is in a serious trouble, you know what I mean? Because, the whole, politics in Liberia is a business, and it's a get rich, quick, skin. Until somebody can come in and break the back as far as, the pay, the salaries are concerned. Until that can happen, like the Congo or Mr. Cummings, can come to, like I said, break the back of the whole salary, stuff. We got a long way to go. But, again, everywhere in life, there is some kind of a standards. We can't say because you have the freedom, to participate, so that means we can just water down, the chance of somebody trying to be president. You have to at least achieve something in your life. Even when it comes to getting married, or getting a family, you got to at least achieve something for you to get to that stage. So we say because, we have that freedom, so that we can just, water the standard down to become a president. So it has to be some kind of a standard. Even if it's maybe 200,000, standard at least. And there's probably a reason why, it is what it is right now in La Paz because there's no, opportunity in the private sector for people to go there, and become successful. And maybe they can go into the public sector first. That's one of the reasons. But let me get to the second point, right? Mr. Blackhouse for so long, he has benefited from this what I call the false narrative, right? The false narrative of the wise old man with integrity. Okay? And now it is becoming clear that he's definitely not this wise old man that has so much integrity, and you can see it happening everywhere he goes. He grow up in a relationship. He treat people like they're nothing, and you see it happening over and over and over again. But one of the problems I do have with you, Mr. Jai, is this, right? You always try to hold people to the standard of physical evidence. Mm-hmm. And we don't have means to physical evidence. So I told you we want to have circumstantial evidence. If Aaron Costa came and said before that Mr. Barker was a cabinet, and then Mr. Bronston, before he passed, he called him a cabinet. Now another person is coming out, one of his closest confidants, coming out and accusing him of being a cabinet. What else do we have to go back to draw the final conclusion that this man is a cabinet? And he does not hold a relationship, and what else do we have? So we have to at least use the evidence, circumstantial, if you don't have the physical. So please, the second answer that, do you have evidence, go down the physical, or we have the circumstantial.
Right. If you don't have it, just say it, right? Because I was born in the interior. When they put witchcraft business behind you, that forever everybody will accuse you. So that is
so true. That is so true.
So not because two persons say it makes it true. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But you too, as a journalist, I know you've been listening over the period of time, and you've been hearing an accusation upon accusation against this one man as it relates to being a cabinet. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So something that.
Right, and I'm just trying to be fair because they have accused Mr. Cummings of so many things. I know you support Mr. Cummings, and not because 10 persons say it, we shouldn't ask them for their proof. We'll still ask. That's what we try to do.
But Dennis, this is the thing, right? See, that's
yeah.
You see, when somebody, it depends on who is making the accusation.
All right, right? You see now, and I can tell.
No, Dennis. Mm-hmm. Dennis, if somebody from the club blue sky saying something about you, that's one thing. But your own co-host, when Anthony starts saying something about you, then there's a reason not to be concerned. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We're talking about people from in the circle of Mr. Barker.
But they're only saying those things after they break away. They don't say when they are in the circle.
That's a fair point. A fair point. But by the same time, too, how many people have been saying, coming out of the circle of comments, right, and saying, like this stuff about him as far as all the crazy allegations are concerned, you know what I mean? So you don't see that. So again, it depends on who's making the accusation.
Thank you so much for calling. Let me take the last caller here. That's Mr. Hassan Kone. Mr. Kone, you're live.
We say that I go into all the panelists. Joseph Walker is what we call in American slang shiesty. And somebody that has shiesty character, that's somebody that can be trusted, that's somebody that will cross you. And this is just slang language, how you call it, in American. So as far as how you call it, with evidence and eyewitness testimony. Right, it's evident. we don't need Joseph Walker verbatim, transcript to say I'm a metropolis for people to how you call it, for us to believe it. Right, so eyewitness testimony, people that have been in the room, people that have been around, that have been close to it, are all coming out and saying it. So we hold it to be true until Joseph Walker actions, right, can prove otherwise. So until his actions can speak for itself. And stuff like that. And the unity party folks, I mean, everybody has said it. Like I said, I don't want to beat a dead horse. We already know what it is. Right? The people already see what they are trying to do, right? pulling Young Lee out of her party, right? And basically sidelining her and then bringing her back into how you call it. You know, it's like asking a woman, in a relationship, or you marry somebody else and you tell her, be my girlfriend on the side. You know, that's what's happening. As far as everything, I mean, we pay close attention and stuff like that. And then like people make this decision. I mean, Joseph Barker is not the way forward for us. We already seen it. We need somebody young. We need somebody vibrant. We need somebody like Kobe and Captain Brunson. Thank you for the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Why that analogy appeals so much to Mr. Sharif and Mr. Gay?
Because you heard me say earlier that even if Yomli Kanga Lawrence would have been picked as a VP and the Unity Party lose the election, her political capital for 2029 would have gotten up, would have increased. But the way in which she was treated, it was very demeaning to her. Whether or not
is that why Mr. Cummings wanted her? Is that why? Because the way
no. Madam Yomli Kanga Lawrence was already shortlisted on Cummings' list before the whole tobacco happened that she was not picked by JMB. Another thing people say that, Cummings, shot himself in the leg because if you have agreed to go as a VP candidate for JMB, a presidential, becoming president of Liberia going to be easy. There was not a guarantee. It would have been possible that Mr. Baka don't pick Mr. Cummings, then what become a political career? So Mr. Cummings played his card very well and didn't agree to that VP slot and say you want to be president. Look, there's not a guarantee. Mr. Bwaka, our former vice president, let me give you a title. His Excellency the JMP, because he earned the Excellency title. He never once asked Mr. Cummings to be his VP. Never once.
But you said two different things now. You said had he accepted? I thought he asked. But let me get from
he
Aliu.
Never asked. But people presume
let me hear from Aliu.
And Mr. Cummings refuted that idea.
Thank you. Aliu, the callers were tough on Mr. Bwaka, so I want to hear your side, and then we can draw down the curtains with your
Dennis, the funny thing is the ANC, they now resolve. They realize
the CPP,
that they have no place in this upcoming election. They're not close to even third place at this point. So what they do, their whole fight now is Joe Bwaka. Joe Bwaka did this with the kind of treatment Joe Bwaka treated Omar Yombly, but they forgot to know that it is the same Ellis Comey who was in cahoots with Musa Belete to disrespect and drag that woman from the beginning of 2020 up to now. They see that message, whatever that draft, making all of these funny statements here. Then look, let me tell you something. Joe Bwaka is the man. The ironic thing is, these guys overseas, that's where Comey got people. This guy overseas, when it comes to Joe Bwaka, they talk as if to say their opinions even matters to the voters. Then Joseph Bwaka is at a point where the more you go after him, the more he gains more support. Joseph Bwaka reminds me of 2017 George Weah. In fact, 2005 George Weah. It doesn't matter what you do. The constituent of Joe Bwaka is not shaking. If you notice us, those who support Joseph Bwaka, there is nothing you can do or say that can change the trajectory.
Right.
And sometimes I wonder whether these ANC people can learn. The best place for you guys is on the SKTV, Sekou Kenan, because that's where you guys get to show your skills, your intelligence, your political knowledge. But everywhere else, you can't fit there because you people. No, let me tell you something. We will win this election. We will win this election. Whether you guys like it or not, we will win this election. This election is two people, Joseph Bwaka and George Weah. Right now, as we speak, we are strategizing. We have seen the strength of George Weah. We have seen the power of George Weah. We know the strength of George Weah. and Georgia is our target. You can hang on our clothes to the back of our shirt all you want.
Money to fight Georgia.
All you want. We don't care about you. We're not. And then somebody said Bronskin accused Joseph Boakai of being a troublist. How can the son of a Congo man accuse somebody of being a troublist? I mean, that's shameful.
Thank you.
Very simple.
Thank you.
Mr. Ja, let me do justice to this.
I'll come to you. Hold on.
My party.
Hold on. Just give me a minute. Let me announce here that on Sunday at 1 p.m., a journalist journey in a male-dominated profession will be on the noonday. And the noonday is run by Priscilla Inanto on Focus on Liberia. Her guest, Melissa Chie Anand, she's the former vice president of the Press Union of Liberia and also former editor of the Inquirer newspaper. You don't want to miss the noonday. This and every Sunday at 1 p.m. Also on Sunday at 6 p.m., we're going to have a fireside chat with Liberian youth and millennials. These are young people and millennials doing incredible things in Liberia and even their mindset. Snotty Raquel Yedia will be my co-host. We have James K. Yancey. He's the president founder of Wonder FC. Ezekiel is a student here. He's here studying in the United States. Sadia Freeman is the CEO and founder of Women Care Liberia. And Deborah Gongpa, also the CEO of We Care Liberia. These young women are just doing phenomenal. Join us Sunday at 7 p.m. where they will sit with me and discuss what's on their mind. They're going to tell you their perspective on how things are going. Most of the time, the people that are talking, many of us are 40 and above. We want to get to the 20s and early 30s. Let's see what they are thinking. And please join me. At this time, I want to thank you all. It's fascinating. And you can only get this on Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. At this time, we will go around the room for your closing comment, but Mr. Gay, you can use 45 seconds of that to respond, and then we go to your closing.
Thank you very much. You know, the Unity Party does a very good job when it comes to propaganda. You just heard Mr. Kamara saying, Unity Party getting more traction. First of all, I challenge him, and the election result will show it. Joseph Yuma Boakai can now win local county by more than 65% of the national vote or of that county vote. He will win, but it will shrink his winning capacity. A former vice president who only won one county out of the entire Liberia is now, quote unquote, the alternative to replace George Manawia. That is a complete myth from hell. So let me tell you this thing. With his pattern, with his behavior, and can now uphold his party nomenclature as Unity Party, can unite people and always creating division and betraying people, he will get rewarded at the ballot box. Most of the folks that you find joining the Unity Party as job seeker are opportunists. They are trying to exploit our Liberia. The same people who work in the alien government want to come back because they no longer have government job. They think this is an elephant myth that nobody else in Liberia should survive. That's the thing. So I want to close with this.
No, I'll come back to you for your closing, but I want to read a few comments here.
Okay, no problem.
Bring our audience in here. Aaron Manning, there's a former acting chairman of the LPP, say Benina Yuri lost credibility. John Blaming, if opposition leaders are doing well, one of you will win the coming general elections landslide, will win the coming general election landslide because we is not doing well for the Liberian people. Stop the mere criticism, keep forging ahead. Mr. Sharif Abdullah Adolfo Zili said, this Sharif guy is too condescending. I wonder what are his productivity level at where he's currently working. Dr. Kula said, Todma is the father of modern Liberia. Tobo tried to make us more progressive. So, Anthony, you were talking about who's the father of Liberia, the father of the nation. Bottom also say, Yekiba was built by Lamco, right? Liberians have been too selfish to their nation and its people. Sam Wallace said, what kind of argument is this, Alice? Limit the candidate pool because it will confuse the voters. Sam Wallace also said they were telling Obama to get out of the race until he won Iowa. So those who say limit them, that's why it is. Morris Kostler, some or most of them are job seekers, talking about the presidential aspirants. They get in a race to make their way to securing position in government, period. Morris Finney cutting their card. He continued, even if American politicians go into politics for money, let's agree that they also go into politics to get things done for their constituencies. Most of our politicians go into politics for their personal wealth. Anthony, you got a partisan here. Vida Madi, right? Hello, brother Anthony Gate. Good to see you on the platform. Has a panelist CPP strong for Liberia.
Hey, Madi.
Gertrude says, son of Congo man is a born Liberian. Mr. Aleo.
That's all right.
Yombi was never going to accept any role on the Cummings campaign after the way Cummings disrespected her as the political leader of LP. Henrietta said this cheap propaganda, you all wanted the same people that you are condemning today. Stop lying, Yombi turning you people down. That's to you, Mr. Gay. Carl Famula said this conversation is embarrassing. She's even closing her eyes and say it's embarrassing. I don't know what's embarrassing about this. James Panto said the Liberian people will give George Manawia white ballots. Typo there when you say barracks. All right. Those are comments from our viewers. Some of the comments from our viewers. Riverside Pro say the rescue train is falling apart.
I know, right?
The U-rays and the Costas have
hit the track and falling apart.
This election, we need to be real with ourselves. Is two-horse race, Unity Party and CDC, period. That's Fala Taylor. The last comment here. You people need to stop this. How many of you make decisions for your children above 18 years? Count don't have control over his adult son. People need to do their jobs, and the people will make decisions. Well, I want to thank you, panelists, for tonight. Let's go around the room now and get your closing comment. And Anthony, you have 30 seconds remaining on your closing comment.
30 seconds? Yeah. Well, folks, I want to thank you. I want to thank Focus on Liberia and Mr. Jai for inviting me to this platform. It's a privilege and not a right. And I take this very serious. Look, Liberia, we are trying for so long. Liberia have natural resources. We have all of the good things you think about. We are lacking one thing and one thing only: a leader. We have not had a leader who has put our country first. Alexander Benedict Cummings and Charlene Bronski are the two top candidates who will put our nation first. What would they do? Launch a digital connectivity. In this 21st century, if you don't have access to the internet, you are out of the world. You have no connectivity to the world. And you don't need government job to survive. Second thing, job creation. Each and every person in Liberia will not be rich. The reason why we came to America is because we want job opportunity. If each one of us here today don't have a job, can survive, we will find someone else to go. Here is the thing. When you have a job, you have power. You can do whatever you want to do with your money and decide how you want to spend your money. Because government opportunity is the only opportunity you find people going to school, and 1,700 people just graduated from the University of Liberia and other higher institutions. 98% of them do not have a job. Another batch of group of people again will graduate next year, will not have a job. Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings will create jobs, grow the private sector, grow our economy, invest into agriculture, invest into tourism, invest into the fishery. Liberia have a huge deposit of snapper, of shrimp, of tuna fish. Look, do not take this election for granted. Use your voter registration card and use your vote as your power and punish those bad politicians who
America,
have been
thank
taking
you.
money. Yaka Koluba, who the mocking at today, voted against the so-called $65 million loan that will be paid back in 2073. With this lawmaker, some of them will be dead and gone. They will not be there to pay. He voted against that bill. You need to give you a prop. Look at your legislature, accomplishment. Jeremiah Coon voted along with CDC 98.9% of the time. He's not an agent of change. Jose Yumabwaka is not an agent of change. Alexander Benedict Cummings and Shalim Bronsky are the agents of change. Vote right, vote this down, and vote a better Liberia. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Leo, you become the natural person to go next.
Okay.
Your cousin.
Listen, this guy talking about Alex Comey and Charlene Bronski. It's so funny. Charlene Bronski living in her powerhouse in Ghana,
You see how they make us is?
not even get her own place to stay. This other man, Alex Comey, who got all the answers, he will open all the fish company. For 40 years, he will go for lot. He not even get, he may just started paying us. This is a man who can solve the country problem. And look, let me tell you something, Mohammed Sharif. Liberia is not a branch of England. Nobody in Liberia have to speak. Nobody's nobody in Liberia intelligence. It should be judged by their eloquence or how well they speak the white man's language. If that is your definition of what an intelligent Liberian is, I think that's appalling and that's disrespectful. Nobody in Liberia have to speak the English language well in order to show how intelligent they are. I dislike that. And let me say again, I am happy to see 20, 40 people in the race today. Our uncles, our fathers, our forefathers fought for these things. They landed in Belayala. There were a few handful of people who believed that like the leadership of Liberia belonged to them. But we're glad today that all Liberians are able to participate in the land of their ancestors. And we are proud of this. We have no regret. We owe no apology to anybody for this. But I just want to say this to you because we don't have all the time in the world. Listen, if people are saying that the rescue team has fallen apart, do they know who the rescue team is? Was Henry Costa a part of the rescue team? Was Bernard a part of the rescue team? So ask them who's the rescue team. Let them tell you. When people say the Unity Party is not living up to its name, the Unity Party is breaking apart. Let them show you one or two Unity Party partisans who have left the party because of Joseph Yuma Burger. People just threw talks at them. Well, now you see, you're retrogressing. The days Ellen Johnson have told you that she is a part of the Unity Party. She said it not too long ago. Okay, there was Dennis, you and your wife have had issues. If you have not, I guarantee you, I've had issue with even my children. When you form a group,
it's clear. It's good. You said she's still there. That's good. That's good.
She is a part of the Unity Party. No Unity Party partisan have left the Unity Party. So all of this disinformation, and I'm sorry for the ANC. ANC, you need to pick your fight. I was friendly with one ball when we were growing the call Tunier, one five ball. He was stronger than me. Every time I pick a fight with him, you know what landed on the ground? My back and the back of my head. And I once he did that twice, I knew we were not equal. I never fought him again. Unity Party is not your equal. Go look for your equal. We will not give you any attention. You're looking for attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gaiman.
Thank you very much. I think since I like to speak in historical terms, Aliyu Kamara remind me of Baghdad Bob. When the American government was destroying Iraq, Baghdad Bob said, "We are winning. We are killing the Americans. We are shooting down their planes. We are destroying their bases. We're killing the Americans. We're going to win this." In the meantime, he was backsliding. He was looking for a way to Lebanon to look for asylum. That's why Mr. Kamara has become the Baghdad of the Unity Party. Everything on that tree has fallen off. The tires, the rail, the engine. The only thing that remaining now is basically the frame. Nothing else is there, but he said we are winning. We're gonna win this thing. We're gonna win it. In the
Get to your
meantime,
own back.
he sent it way over here. So I'm saying this. He said nobody left the Unity Party while they all running out. Even the Conne guy, where the Anthony Conne or Conne, that was he was Secretary of Finance Minister.
Amara Kone.
Eh?
Amara Kone.
Amara Conne is running in Bapolu. He doesn't want
Was
to
he
even
a
come.
member of the Unity Party?
There you go. I mean, everybody was never a member of the Unity
Then
Party.
let's
So
fact check these guys, man.
I don't know who were the Unity Partisans because Amara Conne is not running as a Unity Partisan. He's running as everybody's running as independent. So I don't know where the Kamara is going with this. It tells you that this train has not only derailed the engine, everything is gone. So
Democracy.
oh, okay, yeah, like you said, it really democracy. You in democracy, that's correct. So, Mr. John, thank you very much. It was a beautiful show. We are measuring the curtains now, the new curtains in the White House or in the executive mansions. I think I got my red bottom shoes ready for the inauguration. This thing is not even going to be closed.
Thank you, Mr. Sharif.
Yeah, so I wish he was here. Aliu Kamara. So
Aliu,
basically,
come on back. Aliu, come on back. There you go.
So Aliu Kamara says of Bromskin, walking the Congo man's son, something along those lines. How can you say that? And I'm going to go ahead and say, how dare a Mandingo man say that? Do you know what we go through? So you lack the historical understanding of what's going on in Liberia. Liberia is a land that that should be this reservoir of all of these different nationalities. So you're not going to sit here and say our brothers, descendants of our brothers and sisters who were adopted, kidnapped, um, you know, you're not going to describe one of them as walking and dismiss them in this manner. It's outrageous. And speaking of what I always say about George Ware, I am going to continue to say that he's very inarticulate. Um, he's speaking this kind of halting tones and different things. But I guess that's an advantage of his. I mean, I guess people like it. So otherwise, you won't have thousands and perhaps tens of thousands out there every single time it comes out. So I say this to say that, the opposition thing, if you think it's a joke to me, but, he may not be a joke come October. So that is something that the opposition needs to contend with. One of the things is that, all of these different things that, that the opposition is not trying to put together, instead, letting go of their coalition. And Jerome mentioned that. When you have the mass migration of a whole party or different parties of the coalition that you once put together, when you have people, your confidants leaving you and you're not able to even bring them back, that is a sign. That is not a good sign. Even if you win the presidency, you need to bring the country together. Is this how you're going to govern? And you have your people sitting on platform, oh, these Southeasterners, oh, this guy's from the Southeast, these Southeastern people are taking over. And then you have Ali here sitting here shamelessly, talking about Brunswick. It's very unacceptable. And, I don't know if you speak Mandingo off air. I will speak Mandingo to you.
We don't even know whether you're speaking a real Mandingo because both of you are not real Mandingo.
He knows I speak better than him. He knows. He knows.
Let me go to Alex for your closing. Alex?
Well, Dennis, thank you. It was a great show. On the listing of the presidential candidates, I just think that little bit more, you know. I know that we all appreciate the fact that we have democracy, but we shouldn't reach to a point where people will tend to abuse it. That's my main point. And I think most of the participation is based on getting share of the national pie and not necessarily trying to serve the people for some of the people that are in it. Also on the Unity Party and boycott, somebody called and said, because more people said he this and that, that means it's true. No, so many times a lie can be said over and over about somebody that does not make it true. So we need to research and understand what is really going on, not only for boycott, but for some of the people that people always say things about. We need to investigate. District number 10, you know, like I said, I listened to a show yesterday, and Honorable VP in waiting, if I may say.
Thank you. Bravo.
He came up and said that he does support, you know, Honorable Koluba. So
independent?
No. I say, if I may say, I'm independent.
Feel free. Alice, go ahead.
Right.
I hear to back you.
He might clarify that he can clarify that he still support Yeke Koluba. So I think Yeke can take him by his word and forget about whatever is going on in his backyard. On the point of the ALP, you know, I just feel like sometimes people can have coalition and other interests, but at some point things don't work out, and people should, you know, learn to live with it and move forward. And at the end of the day, Liberians know exactly who they want. No matter what we say here or what we do, they already know who they're going to vote for. So, but whoever wins the presidency will be the president of Liberia. So I think we should give the Liberian Pochi, we can give that chance to make sure that the decision is made, make the right decision so that tomorrow the country can be in good hands. So I leave it like that, and we look forward to a great elections.
Thank you. And join us tomorrow on FOL Marketplace for competing for every dollar regionally post-election. So after the election, let's talk money. So join us on the marketplace. That's where we talk business, finance, and economics every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern with Gabriel, Carter, and the crew. You don't want to miss that. Mr. Few last comments here. Sam Wallace said, Dennis, you may want to check on Jerome after the first round of the election. Sam, from his comments here, he's a DMB guy. Sam also says, Sherry, it's inappropriate to make fun of people's speech. And hopefully he never gets appointed as NEC chair. I don't know which gets.
No, they call it Neil. They call it Neil.
But thank you all for the time tonight. I want to thank our viewers and even those who will watch later. Always watch Focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Election is coming, and we want to have a big presence in the country. So continue to support us, continue to donate to us, so that we can bring you a balanced view, you know, of everything that's going to happen during the election. Until then, we close with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Whether you support Wakai or any of the 20, we are all Liberians. Have a good night and God bless.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home.